Hi everyone, I'm Suzanne Lively. Thank you for joining me. In today's video, we have a special guest. My daughter Vivian wanted to join me for our homeschool update. In today's video, I'm going to share with you everything we've done in our homeschool since our last update, which was in January. And I will link that below if you want to see it. And I will add what we're going to do for our next 6-week cycle coming up. An update from the last time, we extended our 6-week cycle to a 7-week cycle because we took a lot longer for our penguin study, which was fantastic because we enjoyed every minute of it. Yes, this is one of the stuffies that came from that penguin study, from that unit study. But we'll talk more about that in a couple minutes. And just so you know, this is time stamped. So if there's something in particular you're looking for in the update, then definitely look in the description below and hit that timestamp. As mentioned in our January update, we did start How to Teach Your Children Shakespeare. And these are the sheets that we use to practice our daily passages. And this was one of the reasons Vivian wanted to join me today, because she wanted to share with you passage 1. And she did share this on her daddy's birthday on Valentine's Day, but silly me forgot to film it. So this is our opportunity and we thought we'd share it with you.
Oh, and we recommend this too. Highly recommend it.
Yes, it's enjoyable, isn't it?
Very.
The first passage, just to set it up, is from A Midsummer Night's Dream, and this is Oberon speaking.
I know a bank where the wild thyme blows, where oxlips and the nodding violet grows, quite over a canopy with luscious woodbine, with sweet musk roses and with eglantine. There sleeps Titania, sometime of the night, lulled in these flowers of the dances and delight. There the snake throws her enamelled spin, weed white enough to a Porphyrian. And with the juice of this I'll strike her eyes and make her full of hateful fantasies.
Thank you, Vivian. So we may or may not be back with another passage in the future, but we'll definitely include it in our updates how it's going. Now an update for our penguin study. We finished it. We extended a week, like I said. Absolutely loved it. And I've added some resources that weren't included in last month's update, and this is part of an Antarctic study. If you see these gorgeous pieces back here, what I've decided to do though is to make a separate unit study video, and I'll link it once we've done that. But if that's of interest to you, certainly make sure you subscribe to the channel. The reason I decided to do that is because last month I showed a bunch of resources, but we really figured out what would work the best. So I've simplified it to have an amazing first month. What was your experience with the penguin study last month, Vivian?
My favorite part of it was the baby penguins.
This was an interest-led study. Vivian picked out this study, and I'm so grateful because I really enjoyed it. Now, we've added one thing to our homeschool as a result of that we're going to do from now on. I'm just going to grab the book and I'll show you. Okay, this book we absolutely loved. But the reason I'm showing it to you now is because we ended up doing something really fun. Now this is a penguin book and it's gorgeous, full of beautiful photographs. And what we ended up doing was we put it on one of these book stands. I think this is for cookbooks, but we use them in our house for books. I'm just going to take this cover off. And every day, one of us would change the photo. So you come around the corner, it would be on our homeschool shelf, and it would always be a surprise. I would say Vivian changed it probably 95% of the time. And it always caught me by surprise. Absolutely loved it. So if you followed me on Instagram, you would have seen pictures, random pictures of this book and the penguins in it in the stories part of Instagram. What I've decided to do is we're going to have a photo of the day from now on, and I'll try to remember to showcase those in the stories. This is the book we're using now, and we'll continue this until we finish all the pictures in this book. Then I'll add another one, and we might add another book in the living room. We haven't decided yet. I'll let you know. If you suddenly see 2 different books in our stories on Instagram, you'll know we added another one. So again, photo of the day. If you're interested in those just for fun, make sure you're following me on Instagram. Okay, Vivian had a recommendation from our penguin study she wanted to mention as well. What was it?
Well, one of my favorite parts of it was watching the movies. I have a recommendation about Steve. He's a really funny one, Penguin Town.
Another thing that we did for our penguin study that I wanted to mention for language arts was we did our very first Brave Writer dart, and it was for Mr. Popper's Penguins. And we ended with the movie with Jim Carrey, of course, which was terribly funny. What did you think of it, Viviana?
It was pretty good. I'll recommend it. Wasn't the best at times, but yeah, it was good.
So the book obviously was amazing. My experience was it didn't feel as natural as I had hoped. I do think we have to do 2 or 3 of them for it to feel natural as a teacher in terms of preparing for the study. And it was certainly different. I love the idea of a spiral approach to Brave Writer. I can see how that works now that I've done one. I think, well, my favorite activity was one of the last ones in Mr. Popper Penguins, and it was literary element, and she introduced feeling words. So we got to talk, and she used quotes from the book and the story itself to introduce feeling words like happy, cross. That was my favorite part. And then Vivian drew a picture and used stickers, and she did the body movements and facial expressions, and I personally love that. How did you experience that?
Well, I loved it. I used all kinds of stickers. I put little arrows and wrote some words down of what the feelings were. At first I started drawing. I couldn't really make it good, so I did stickers. Yeah. It was really fun.
Yeah, so that was one of the favorite parts, actually. That was our favorite part. Okay, so I will do these again. In terms of next month, I did debate on doing Wish Tree, another dart by Brave Writer, because we are doing a tree study. So I mentioned last month that we were doing a tree study. We didn't end up doing hardly anything for it because we focused on doing the penguin study. And in this new upcoming 6-week cycle, we're going to focus our science on the tree study. The reason that I've decided not to do, at least not in the next month for sure, that I've decided not to start another language arts Brave Writer is because we're very much focusing on reading. And if you saw last week's video, you saw I did a video on all the readers. Vivian and I went through the many readers we have in our house. You can see that video. I'll link it up here. And we got a whole bunch from the library. I also ordered a little new curriculum for language arts and reading. So look for an upcoming video. I'm going to do a whole separate video on our language arts, where we're at in terms of reading and what we're going to be doing to finish out this school year. So because that's going to take a huge amount of time, I've decided to wait before we jump into another dart. Next, we're moving on to the morning basket. I just have a couple of updates from last month. We did finish one of the books in our morning basket, and this is The Treasury of Greek Mythology. This is a DK book. Yes, this is one of the subjects Vivian asked in terms of interest led was to do more mythology and Greek mythology. So we did finish that book, and I decided to go ahead and order Delaire's Book of Greek Myths. So we actually just started this today. We have this on audiobook. So we're playing the audio and looking at the book while we go through it. Is there anything you want to add, or just that you love it?
Yeah, I was just making this and I love it.
All right. A couple other items that we finished that were in our morning basket were 2 Who HQ books. This was What Were the Roaring Twenties, which we're finishing up before we started our Harlem Renaissance. And the other one, it was Who is Dolly Parton? So we learned a lot about Dolly Parton. And she was a very prolific songwriter. I had no idea. She's written over 3,000 songs. And we watched The Coat of Many Colors, her film about her childhood. And this, yeah.
And it wasn't totally about her. It was all of her family and stuff. I kind of recommend it, but
she kind of recommended. I cried a ton. What else is new? The other little one we finished is What is Black Lives Matter? And that was Who HQ. And that was about the movement for the Black Lives Matter. That moves us into the Harlem Renaissance update. Now, yeah, we're really enjoying that. I thought we would finish Harlem Renaissance study at the end of February because that is the end of the Black History Month. However, we are into so many amazing resources that I want to continue. So we're just going to keep going to the end of March, and we will pull in more for Women's History Month and for Shakespeare Week. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. I just want to make a couple notes about material that we've added since I did the Harlem Renaissance video. So if you want to see all the material we used, definitely check out the video up here. And then and these, every time you do something, it's funny. Okay. And I'll show you the other pieces of material we picked up. One of the amazing resources I mentioned using in that Harlem Renaissance video is On the Shoulders of Giants. And this was produced, and I'm not sure if he directed it so much as he definitely made it happen, by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And this is a 12 CD series. There was also a movie. Unfortunately, we couldn't get it in Canada. But the CD series is absolutely amazing. I will say this, I think it's too old for Vivian. So are you enjoying those CDs?
No, they're a little okay, they're boring.
They're boring, yeah. They're very long. I absolutely love it. And I'm glad that we have them because I will be listening to it myself, and I'm going to save them to do with Vivian probably when she is in junior high. I would say that's a resource that's better used for junior high or high school students. But they're amazing. Absolutely. Love them. Okay, I did add a couple other little resources I did want to mention. And this first one is a book called Scraps of Time, A Song for Harlem, 1928. And this is by Patricia C. McKissack. So this is a chapter book. Vivian really wants to jump in. Go ahead. What do you want to say about this one?
I love it. I mega love it. I can't wait to read the other books because if you look back here, there's other books, and I just can't wait. We just found it, and I'm really excited. It's our own book, and I just love it. It's not really a picture book per se. It does have some pictures in it, not colored, but it's like this usually. Once in a while you get pictures, but I still love it, mega love it. And when I do this and stuff, it means I love it. Just saying.
I think it took us both by surprise because a lot of times I get out books for a study and they might pertain subject-wise, but they're not very entertaining. But this, we devoured it for sure. It was really good. And this is about a little girl from the South who ends up going to Harlem. It's a fictional story, but some of the characters like Zora Neale Hurston, Lily Bell's the little girl that comes from the South. Zora Neale Hurston is her teacher. And there's other people, other names you would recognize that were living and artists from the Harlem Renaissance period.
Oh, and if you're a writer, I recommend if you're a writer. You might think see, if you don't agree with it, that's okay. But I think she's pretty right.
Yeah, it's really good if you want to be a writer, or if you consider yourself to be a writer now. Yeah, definitely check out this book. Okay. The other little piece of curriculum that I picked up, and I did speak to Beth, who created this amazing piece. This is Music of the World and Exploration in Jazz, and this is from Little World Wanderers. I'll leave a link to her site below. I did speak with Beth today because I couldn't find it, and unfortunately fortunately for us, it was created in and put in a bundle that I bought, but it isn't available yet. However, check out her site because she has amazing, look, it's a whole page of picture books. And I will say that's something that we have read so many amazing picture books. I can't even believe, they tell whole stories about people for the Harlem Renaissance. It's been amazing. But these are specifically about the jazz world. And definitely check out her site, especially if you want to know more about specific countries in the world. She has a lot of free resources as well.
And there are a couple of things you can do. Like I put some things on. I learned it from here, and then I just stuck it on. Vowels, pinky ring, bell, all the simple things. So if I turn out doing this and not piano, well, I would still do piano. I could learn this. I already know stuff about the trumpet now from this thing, and I just like it a lot. It's a good thing. Okay.
Yeah, we've watched a lot of YouTube videos about artists because of this, which has just been amazing, really. Another resource I want to make sure I mention is a YouTube channel, and it's called Crash Course, and they have a whole playlist on Black history, and I'm going to link that down below because we've watched quite a few of those videos. The majority of them on that YouTube channel, I would say, are for a much older audience. Well, at least they say college level courses. But the Black history so far, we've watched, I don't even know how many, like quite a few, and they've been okay for a younger audience. A resource that I want to make sure that I mention for any of you that are teaching your children how to tell time, we were having a big challenge, or I was having a big challenge, I should say, as a teacher describing certain aspects of telling time to my daughter, specifically when it got closer to the hour, so say 10 to 10. It was so easy to say that it was 10 to not 11, isn't that right? Yeah, it got really confusing, and I found the perfect resource. So I'm linking this below. So this is on Teachers Pay Teachers, and I found this based on an article that he wrote. Yes, ready to teach time. Stop, do this first. And if I were to do it again, I absolutely wish we would start with this. And it totally solved the problem, didn't it?
Totally.
Yeah.
I loved it. Like, it's really good, and I totally recommend it.
Yeah.
We still have some things like when you said we're learning about AM, PM,
Yes.
and words like that, like
Half past.
you know. Like, I can read the time. I've always kind of had this awareness of things. I just wasn't able to write it down and other things. And now I can do all of that. I just don't know when you say the word sometimes, like 10:30. I know that, but other things, I just don't understand. Like, what are you saying? I don't understand. So we're also learning that. We're just icing the cake. Or if you like cupcakes, so.
Yes, that's how I've described it. Vivian can tell time. There's just some little tiny pieces of icing that we need to add to it. But this did solve this problem. He introduces time, and he shows each of these and refers to them as rooms. So I would suggest if you're just starting out, or if there's an issue with time, like we had, check out this resource. And if you're starting out, definitely start teaching this first. And then I would recommend getting this if your child likes to do exercise sheets, because it definitely cements the concept. She starts complaining because she's getting bored, and then I just move on. And when she's still learning and it's a challenge, I don't hear that particular complaint. But she certainly kicks up a fuss, which I'm happy about, once she's learned a concept, because that's the beauty of homeschooling. Once they know it, move on. Teach to the child. So fantastic resources. I wanted to make sure I mentioned them. They'll be linked down below. Vivian just informed me that I am potentially poking her in the eye every time I put material that way. So anyway, I'm not going to start over. Hopefully the footage isn't too bad. She still has 2 eyes, so that's a good sign. Now I want to move on to our read aloud. So we had one read aloud, and we're trying to do one fantasy book a month. And we did this because of the, polar bear, Arctic. We thought that was close enough to penguin study and the Antarctic study. Anyway, this is Polar Bear Explorers Club. Yes, Vivian absolutely loved this. Loved this. As soon as I finished, she ran upstairs to the library to get the second one. So we read both 1 and 2. Yes.
And the reason I knew it is because I was nosing around in that wonderful library. We used to call it office, but now library. And I just found it. I'm like, yes, score. And when she did it, I remembered because I have good memory, and I ran up literally when she was done it. I was like, I'm getting the other one. We can read the whole book in one go. No, it didn't work out so good, but yeah.
So this is definitely a new, I would say for both of us, favorite middle grade read. And I ordered the third one. We have it now, and we'll be doing it next month for our readathon. We are going to participate together in middle grade readathon. And if you like fantasy books, then definitely check out our readathon list. So we have a TBR, to be read books that we're going to read next month. So you won't see any books chosen this month for a fantasy book because we have 4 or 5 picked out for the readathon next month. Okay, and we have 1 week left. We have 2 books to finish. This was the book that was for our Harlem Renaissance / fantasy book. And this is The Magic in Changing Your Stars. Why are you doing that?
That means boring.
It's boring? Okay, so even I admit this is hard to get into. We have got into it a couple times and didn't want to stop, though. Wouldn't you say that's true? So I've decided that the next time we really get into it, I'm not going to stop because we never want to stop. It's just hard to get into it. It's not an instant fast read like Polar Bear Explorers Club or this one. This was a spontaneous book, yeah, that I picked up at the library, and I've heard so many people talk about this on BookTube, Amari and the Night Brothers, and I have to say it is as good as everybody talks about, isn't it?
Oh, and I love it more than the Polar Bear Explorers Club. It's amazing, but it's better than that to me. Yes.
Okay. So I love it. I still like this one more, and I think the reason is because this is, I laugh a lot more in this one, but this is a super fast read, like super fast. It's so good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like we came in bed and just read it to like, and it's just super cool, and yeah.
Now moving on to some of the resources we're going to be using in the upcoming 6-week cycle. So we'll go to the beginning of April. It's going to depend if we finish at the end of March or the beginning on April if Vivian is registered for a theater camp. And it's going to depend on how COVID's doing in our region, if she goes or not. So that will determine exactly when we finish this study. But next month for March, it is Women's History Month, which we participated in last year, a huge amount. And also in March, there's Shakespeare Week, which happens in England, but they have an amazing website and resources for us to use. So we did a lot of study last year, and I'll leave those video links down below in case you want to watch them because there were a number of resources in there. However, I didn't want to do as big of a study this year, so I'm trying to tie in some of our current studies like Harlem Renaissance with Women's History Month, and this is one of our books, and this is a poetry book of female poets from the Harlem Renaissance time. So we will be finishing that. We've only read a couple out of it, honestly, this month, so we'll be finishing that in March. And I also purchased some new resources that tie in Women's Study and Black History Month as well as Shakespeare. So the first one, I'm going to actually link a picture up here because it hasn't come yet. We have ordered it, and it's called She Raised Her Voice, 50 Black Women Who Sang Their Way who sang their way into music history. So that will be 50 women that we'll study. I do want to continue our study of women in the music industry. My daughter definitely has an interest in that area, so I want to continue that. Now, the next book that we're going to look at, I ordered this, is called, oh, did I get you? No. Bold and Brave Women from Shakespeare. And this is gorgeous. So it has a page in there. Put each woman. So that's one of the things we'll do for Shakespeare. I also ordered another Shakespeare book. And this is Shakespeare Stories, illustrated by Koa Lee. Yes, Vivian is looking. So we will, if you notice these are 2 of Vivian's favorite books. And it is the same illustrator and author that did this book, which is why I wanted to pick this up. And I'll show you more of these if you'd like. I'll do an see inside because they're absolutely gorgeous. And like I said, the 2 up there are 2 of Vivian's favorites. So we'll be pulling those down because we didn't finish them all, did we? No, which would have been about me because she wanted me to. So we'll take the opportunity to read this and finish those next month. So that kind of ties in all the studies. Black History Month, Women's History Month, and Shakespeare Week, as well as our interest in female artists, right? And like I said, we'll also be taking part in middle grade March readathon.
There's one thing we will like to end off. It is this Leaping Queen. Now, I would just like to add, this is made by a couple kids. Anyway,
Designed, yeah.
So, at the end of our school day, we usually end it off with this. Now, this is my fave game. Well, I have a lot of good games that I like, but this is one of the best.
Yeah.
And let's just say it's really cool with all the queens and kings. Like there's a hat king and a rainbow queen, a rose queen, and chest king. And there's sleeping potions and dragons. And there's a couple of spells and things. Like if you have a dog and a cat, you have to put either one who you picked up down, because like cats and dogs fight, so I guess that's the point of it. So we just really like doing this at the end of the school day to finish it off. It's good. We like doing it. I think you should check this one out. And yeah.
It's funny to hear Vivian talk. I mean, I know she loves the game without a doubt, and that's the impression that she's had. I had it on the table and for us to talk about, because this is something I would like to see improved. I started off like gangbusters at the beginning of last 6-week cycle. I wanted to end our homeschool day with a game, and I did choose this because it was one of the easier ones to learn, and it was fairly quick to play, wouldn't you say? You can play 2 or 3 games within 20 minutes. So I thought it was a nice way, but then it petered off and petered off and petered off. So my goal is to play a game at the end of our homeschool day for every day that we can. Maybe not Fun Fridays, but every other day for the next 6-week cycle. That's what I would like to work on. And that's on my part, because Vivian wants to play games all the time, don't you? Yeah. Okay. Anything else you want to add before we go?
Don't forget to hit the subscribe button down there if you're new to our channel. Well, mostly Mom, but sometimes me. And there's a couple things I think if you like me being in these videos, there's some things you might like, Eloise ones, all kinds of things.
Like Vivian said, if you like this video, you'd like to see more of it, definitely hit subscribe. If you liked it, please hit like, and I will see you soon with another video.
Bye.
Bye.